Hi. I'm reading a couple poems from Allegiance and a couple new poems. Try to keep it short. Fume. Love is a rage that never quite slaughters, a murder with no body, a lighthouse sinking invisible ships, a robber with no hands, a rapist, alone. Love is a room with no doors, no windows, one chair, and a rope. It's a missing item in a missing stack, a skin that won't sink to the bullet. Love is too tight, it breaks. It's a toilet filled with latex gloves, a burn on the stomach every time that you don't remember. It opens your fly every time it pees. Love doesn't pick up on body language. It pulls your pennies down in an unfinished basement. It kisses your eyelid with crap in its tooth. Love trails off in a long, ragged wheeze. It rips your lips in church. It talks too damn much. Love faints giving blood, but it keeps giving blood. It's the stranger you let in to use the phone. It purrs at your feet, but it has those claws. It's the way you feed and the leash you toss. It scratches in the walls. 8 days until your ashes turn 1. I count how much it would take to make you live again. You know how your eyes ached and you would say, well, maybe the glasses I get next year, or the tomatoes sunk and you'd say, better soil next year, or the temperature dropped and you'd say, warmer next year. Count. There were hundreds of pills in the reek of heroin, enough particles for a drop a day, a slipped afternoon. Count them. High once. Morning, once evening, tastes of gravy, reeks the same all night, smells the counted nickels, gathered dollar bills, scoped Motrin along razor blade edges. Count the days between Pall Mall cigarettes, headaches, sex. Did you count those days, or count as the years ticked off where the grass didn't take, the garden dust? Our mother perched in her glasses. Count dropped stitches, wire phrase, seeds to lay out for a dozen birds, 30 years, another day, the rotation of clock hand. Wonder if she counted, or if you counted for her, how much drift and phoneme of garble counted off in your nod, half-finished sentences, ellipses, 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 stars. How many days did you track into some pore of your body that had been enumerated, renumbered into an urn of dust, which in 8 days will already be one, like one atom of your dilation, minus the ache? Ode to William Basinski's Disintegration Loop. And this one is, if you don't know this guy, he is a composer that apparently composed these compositions to the World Trade Center collapse, sort of, or at least he created them and they wound up being dedicated to that. So anyway, this one is called 1.1. Because to perfect to minus to bring, this is that wish well, we hold out water and tinker. Because to plummet to minus to sing, this is that wish, well, we hold out water and tinker and want. Because to plummet to minus to tinker, this is that wish hell, I'm a holdout, a thinker. Because to plummet to minus to hunker, this is that wish felled, a holdout, a blinker, a tinker. Because to plummet, to mingle, to junk, this is that kiss telled, a rollout, a sinker, a blunt. Because to perfect, to mingle, to funk, this is that bliss fail, a sold out, a jingle, a jigger, a stunt. Because to plummet, too meager, too bunk, this is that piss pale, a holdout water, a pinker, a cunt. Because to plummet, you feed her, you sunk, that is that spit shell, a whore out, a finger, a punt. Because you plummet, you feel it, you think her, this is that crib rail, a torn out, a tinker, a ticker, a runt, a punk. Doubt. Because you were overweight and wore chains of turquoise, because you were my mother, because you were crazy at the time, because you hadn't, you said, had sex in 5 years, because you were crazy at the time and because the pallor of your skin was changing, because your daughter, my sister, stood head shaking while we held your voice on the phone, and because your daughter, my sister, said you were making it all up. Because the room didn't move when you came home and no one got you water, because you were crazy at the time and the woman becoming chameleon, skin jade and bloated eyes before me was not my mother, because you were white. Because it happened 4 doors down if it happened, so you said. Because I had played with his daughter as a young girl, and once as a young girl I caved in her stomach with my foot, she sank. Because she called him daddy, the way not all girls get to do, because you wore polyester flowers, and because he was thick mustached and drank dark rum at his living room shag rug bar, because your husband didn't kill him, because you wouldn't let us call the police since you were crazy at the time and thought they'd take you away 3 a.m., because they had taken you away before when you called the police on your husband, my father, because you were overweight. Because you called home several times that night to report you were still okay and would be home as soon as he let you leave, because your husband didn't kill him, because I couldn't see you over the phone, because over the years no one has said much when you bring it up, because my father didn't kill him, because you were crazy at the time, and because as it happened over the years I would not react the same, would not react, because we knew his name. Because you had been jealous of his wife, her mother, before she left him, the Beverly tall and prance, rose-eyed and peppercorn about mahogany tulip mouth, because you often accused my father of wanting her, because you cried. Because I don't remember you coming home that night, because Daddy didn't kill any of them, because it was easier not to. Oops. Okay, and I'll just close with this one. I wrote this series of notes. Oh my God, it's like really ridiculously warm up here. Just so you know, you're gonna sweat to death when you get up here. I wrote this series of poems called Suicide Notes, 2 of which have gotten published in the last month after really 3 years of trying to get them published, and none of them had been, so I'm excited about this, and this is one of them. Dear blank. This is suicide note number 5, wet condoms. If I start this off by saying he takes his wet condom when he leaves, then it's more about him, less about the desire for evidence, more about trust, less about the edge of the mattress and the falling sky, less about the moment the litany turns to shatter inside the overhead light, or the last time I saw my mother, more about a zygote in the toilet, or an infant he and I might have held, less about the neighbor taking out the trash under my window, less about the burn in my stomach. If I keep this story up by saying I never even see him do it, then it's more about unrequited desire, less about the silence of all spiders, more about how far a woman would go to trap a man, less about the hyena's bloody paw in any given trap. More about how a man must stay free and less about the patterns on the floor, how they turn from order to distance, how they trail off to what might turn up murdered in the hallway. It is more about what anyone wouldn't do to be a mother, less about the old man on the balcony in a coughing fit. It's more about the boundaries, the fences, the walls, and less about this goddamn light through the leaves, how I don't know the word for that. How there must be a word for that. It's easy to die. It's the easiest thing we can do. And if I end this by saying I looked for it everywhere, then it is more about what I wouldn't do to stay alive, less about wanting to remember that someone was inside me. Thank you.